4 days in, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson sat down together and seriously considered starting over. The audition was not going the way they hoped. The chemistry felt slightly off. The three of them weren't sure. This was the drummer who was supposed to fill Neil Peart's seat. And after 4 days of rehearsals in Toronto, two of the greatest musicians alive were looking at each other and asking whether they had made the right call. Then came day 5, and everything changed. This is the story nobody knew when the 50-something tour was announced. The story of how close it came to going differently, and why the ending. Anika Nilles on that stage in Los Angeles, nailing every Peart fill with a giant smile, was not inevitable at all. When Rush announced a reunion tour, the question of the drum throne consumed every conversation in the rock world. Neil Peart had died in January 2020. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson had been unambiguous. Rush without Neil was not Rush. The drum seat was not a vacancy to be filled. It was a legacy to be honored, and only they could decide if and how that was possible. For years, it seemed like the answer was, it isn't. And then something shifted. The person who first set the chain in motion was not a journalist or a manager or a booking agent. It was John McIntosh, Geddy Lee's bass technician, known as Scully, who had worked closely with Anika Nilles during her time touring with Jeff Beck. Scully knew what she could do. He knew the combination of technical precision, musical intelligence, and personal character that the role would require, and he made the recommendation. Geddy and Alex decided to give it 5 days in Toronto and see what happened. Alex Lifeson has been honest about what those first 4 days felt like. It wasn't working. Not dramatically, not catastrophically, but the chemistry that two musicians who have played together for 50 years can feel in their bones was not fully there yet. The three of them were finding their way toward each other. And after 4 days, Lifeson and Lee sat down and had the conversation that any honest pair of artists in that situation would eventually have. Is this right? Is she the one? Or do we need to keep looking? Think about the weight of that conversation. They had agreed to come back. They had committed, at least in their own minds, to the idea that a reunion was possible. And now, 4 days into the audition that was supposed to confirm it, the answer wasn't clear. The stakes were not just logistical. A reunion tour that didn't feel right would not be a neutral outcome. It would be a statement about Rush, about Neil's legacy, about whether the music could live without the specific combination of people who made it. They could have walked away. After 4 days, they almost did. On the 5th day, everything clicked. Alex Lifeson used a specific word. She nailed it. Not she improved, not she got better. She nailed it. The chemistry that had been slightly off for 4 days suddenly arrived. The three of them found the thing they had been reaching for, that specific feeling of being in a room with people who understand the music the same way you do, who feel where it wants to go before you have to say it. Lifeson and Lee had their answer, and the 50-something tour became real. What happened between day 4 and day 5? What shifted? What clicked? What specific moment of musical alignment produced that change is something only the three people in that room fully know. Great musical partnerships often work that way. The chemistry either arrives or it doesn't. You can't manufacture it. You can only keep showing up until it does. Anika Nilles showed up on day 5, and so did everything else. Now that the tour is underway, now that opening night happened and the reviews came in and Mike Portnoy cried watching from home, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson have been speaking about Nilles with a warmth that goes well beyond professional approval. Geddy Lee describes something specific about her approach to Neil's legacy. He said she really understands and appreciates Neil Peart's greatness, not as a technical exercise, not as a performance obligation, as genuine comprehension of what made Neil's playing what it was. And, crucially, she is not trying to replicate it exactly. Her jazz fusion background means she brings her own voice to the material. She honors the songs while breathing fresh life into them. Geddy and Alex, who spent 40 years making music with a drummer of extraordinary originality, understand the difference between imitation and interpretation. They wanted interpretation. They got it. Geddy also praised her work ethic in terms that reveal how much that quality matters at this level. She works hard. She's not afraid to work hard, and she loves to play the same way we love to play. That last part, she loves to play the same way we love to play, is the most important sentence in any description of a successful musical partnership. Shared love of the work, the same appetite for it, the same willingness to stay in the room until it is right. Here is the detail about Geddy and Alex's relationship with Nilles that reveals the most about who they are as people. They are actively protective of her. Rush fans are, by any objective measure, among the most technically knowledgeable and demanding fans in rock music. They have studied Neil Peart's playing for decades. They know every fill, every accent, every choice he made and why, and they will notice and comment on any deviation. That scrutiny was always going to land on whoever sat behind that kit. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson know it. And their response is not to distance themselves from it or leave Nilles to navigate it alone. They are rooting for her, vocally, publicly, making clear that she has their full support and their full confidence. That protective instinct, from two men in their 70s toward a much younger musician taking on the hardest job in rock, says something about the kind of people they are and the kind of band Rush has always been. There is one more detail from the behind-the-scenes story that deserves its own moment. The age gap between Nilles and Lifeson and Lee is significant enough that when they tell touring stories from 1971, the early Rush years, the Van and Clubs years, the years before anyone outside Canada knew their name, Anika Nilles teases them. She wasn't born yet. That joke, the three of them laughing about the decades between them, is the sound of a band that has found its footing. Of three people who have moved past the uncertainty of day 4 and arrived somewhere real. Geddy Lee summarized all of it by saying that Nilles has injected a charge back into their playing, that she has made them feel like they can finally do true justice to the Rush catalog. True justice from the people who wrote the catalog, who made it with Neil Peart over 40 years, who know better than anyone alive what it sounds like when it is right. They feel like it is right. The story of Anika Nilles joining Rush is better than anyone could have scripted. The bass tech who made the call, the 5-day audition, the 4 days of doubt, the 5th day that changed everything, the opening night in Los Angeles where she nailed every fill with a giant smile, Mike Portnoy crying at his screen, Geddy and Alex protective and proud and laughing at touring stories she wasn't alive for. Neil Peart cannot be replaced. No one involved, not Nilles, not Lifeson, not Lee, has suggested otherwise. But the music can be honored. It can be played with the love and the skill and the interpretive intelligence that it deserves. It can be brought back into rooms where people who have been carrying it since 1974 can hear it live one more time. Anika Nilles is doing that. Day 5 confirmed it, opening night proved it, and the 50-plus year partnership of Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, which knew on day 4 that something wasn't right and knew on day 5 that it was, trusted what they heard. The 50-something tour is real. And the drum throne, the sacred one, as Mike Portnoy called it, is in exactly the right hands. Let me know what you think.